The name of the video blog is The Heart of the Matter is. Listen. The machine. Looking back through history from this present moment in time, and considering the situation that mankind is presently in, it is blatantly obvious that for all of the talk, all of the claims, all of the scientific achievements and all of the spiritual and religious doctrines, things have not improved and are in fact, if anything, getting worse and more dangerous. Anyone with an ounce of common sense who switches on the television or the radio, or even reads a newspaper, cannot fail to realize that something disastrous is on the verge of happening. I can feel it, you can feel it, and so can millions of others. You can only stretch something so far before it breaks, and that point has almost been reached. What a disgusting, shameful, pointless, unfair and downright evil society it is that most have to endure. Have you any idea how many are praying and waiting, hoping for its end? There are indeed many who are actively working towards the destruction of the present way of life. All that matters to the elite is maintaining the system that feeds them wealth and power. The rest of mankind are either seen as contributors or useless little eaters. Both are seen as expendable. To the elite, the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many. They are the masters of distraction, the all-seeing eye, the destroyers of peace and quality of life. They set neighbor against neighbor and nation against nation. A house divided against itself cannot stand, therefore we are facing the fall of man. I can see and feel the stress in the victims of the elite schemes. Mankind has almost had enough of living like slaves to the machine, and all it will take is one spark to ignite the greatest revolution in the history of the world. It will begin with people realizing that they have had enough, and the attitude that if I can't have a decent life and a fair share, then neither can those who have been arrogant, selfish, and controlling, those who have made obscene profits even from the poor. The religion of the elite is atheism and Darwinism, the survival of the strongest. They eliminate the weak through wars, famine, pestilence, and disease. They are the masters of eugenics, politics, science, and psychology with which they use against the rest of mankind. They believe in one life and yet send others to kill and die on battlefields in wars they have themselves created. People say, "What can I do? I am one," not realizing that it is also said by millions. The gates that cage mankind are almost shut. It is then that the people will cry for the mountains to fall upon them, as they realize that hell has been created on earth. Pray for Armageddon, pray for a savior, pray for an alien race to save mankind from themselves. I tell you in truth, that such hope will change nothing, and as you sit back in your contentment, the few who understand the machine are making their final adjustments to it, so that they alone control it. There are those who think that they can save the world by causing an awakening, yet they can't even save themselves. The elite have long infiltrated religions and the spiritual community, lest they discover the knowledge that would set them free. They have done everything possible to hide their own evil by guiding people away from self-knowledge, and even the most loving and spiritual have been led to teach diversions from the truth. Mankind is blinded and set against itself, not realizing that the elite are looking down upon them and laughing at how easily they are controlled and made to conform to that which they hate. Most people, especially the young, have been pacified by drugs and consumer goods. Others are so fearful they can't even think or function properly, and still others are so blind that they think everything will go on as normal and nothing will change. You can't fix anything unless you know how it works. How then can you fix society when you can't fix yourself, because you definitely don't know how you work, but there are those that do. They are called the elite, and they control every aspect of the machine that drives mankind. People tell you to wake up but not how to. They say, look what the elite are doing, look where they are taking us, but it is not these things that you are supposed to wake up to, it is just another diversion. It's no good knowing what the magician is doing, you have to know his secrets before you can end the deceit and illusion. Knowledge is king, and it is knowledge that changes perception, it is therefore the correct knowledge that will change the world, knowledge that has been guarded by the few, the elite, and denied the rest. This knowledge must cut through all things, that is religions, various other spiritual beliefs, indoctrinations, and atheistic views. In fact, it must level the playing field for everyone. It must end all deception and inequality. You must come to know yourself, and then you will know everyone. You must come to understand life itself, and when you know how it works, you can fix yourself. Let's get out of the branches and down to the roots, let's see what the elite see and do all that they can to stop you seeing. Let's remove the hill that the kings of the earth have stood on. Let us see that which at present has remained beyond perception. I will light the fire of insurrection that will be unextinguishable, and it will spread across the world, cleansing it of the poison that has caused so much suffering. There will be no more elite. Before I go on to the secrets of life, I want to address some of the diversions that have been created in the spiritual community. Diversions. Here I will address some of the toxic diversions that are at present being spread amongst the spiritual community. They are diversions that are calculated to blind the individual to their individuality, uniqueness, and responsibility for their own lives and actions, resulting in a barrier to self-realization, which only serves the interests of the elite. Let us take a look at some of these diversions that have been so willingly accepted as truth, and perhaps find an understanding as to why. 1. We are all one, there is no us and them. I am you, you are me. We are all one consciousness. This makes everyone guilty of everyone else's actions, whether right or wrong. It means that each of us are both loving and hating, killers and savers of lives, etc., and it would also mean that this proposed one consciousness is at war with itself, and has every psychological disorder imaginable. It also means that we are the elite, I am you, you are me. How wonderful for them, it makes them unjudgeable. I mean, whatever you say about them you would actually be saying about yourself. Silence of the Lambs comes to mind. We are one is a preferred belief that absolves one of responsibility for their own lives and actions. 2. No one wants to stand out as being wrong or individually guilty, and so the next diversion was created, that is, there is no right or wrong, no good or evil. This would mean that all things are permissible. In one foul swoop, guilt has been done away with, and therefore the need to feel bad about one's actions. How then can you feel bad about anyone else's actions, including those of the elite? 3. This leads us to another diversion. There is only the now. I guess hiding in the moment, denying the past and future, and the individual self, is all that is left to do, but then denial of reality is comforting. It seems strange that the self, we are all one, can hide from itself. 4. Another diversion is that we create, manifest, our own reality, that we are the masters and authors of all we observe and experience. Well, forgive me for saying so, but there appears to be a clash of desires and will in the world, and there are winners and losers, a family at war comes to mind. It appears that the elite have manifested quite a few diversions that people have claimed as their own manifestations. 5. Yet another is that we make soul contracts before we come to the earth, or that while on earth we can make contracts with those who are not yet in the world, contracts that will of course, either benefit our own life by mutual agreement, or benefit our own life at the expense of someone else's. It seems that this diversion also absolves one from any guilt, because we are just fulfilling a contract whatever we do, or what anyone does to us. It would seem that if you kill someone, you are only fulfilling a contract that you made with them. It appears then that most people have made a contract with the elite. It is a strange belief that we come into the world just to act out what we plan together in the afterlife. Of course, if we are all one, then we wouldn't have to make contracts with the self. It would also lead to the belief that there is no escape from the madness within the one consciousness that we are supposed to be. There are an incredible amount of diversions in life, some from faulty reasoning, some from wishful thinking, some created purely for monetary gain and exaltation, and some to control behavior. As long as spiritual diversions continue and preferred beliefs without proof are accepted without question, the spiritual community will change nothing and the elite will remain safe until their conquest is complete. Even if the whole world believed a lie, it would still be a lie. It is time to learn the greatest secret that was ever hidden, the secret of the self, the secret of life. The secrets of life. Knocking on Armageddon's door. It's amazing how much damage and suffering has been caused by so few in the world, and it is equally amazing how they have gotten away with it for so long. But what amazes me most is that people can see where they are being taken and yet continue to follow. It's as if they are trapped in a live now, the future doesn't matter mentality. If the will existed, the world could be transformed overnight, but for the majority it doesn't. They can take your children away and adopt them out against your will, and they can even vaccinate your children with God knows what, against your will. They can add so-called medicines and chemicals to your water supply against your will, leaving you with little choice other than to use it, and then they make you pay for it. People do not give them the right to do such things, they just assume such rights and use the law that they have created, to enforce it. Have you noticed how many new laws they are creating, laws that permeate every aspect of a person's life? Do you know why they are doing this? Every law that they create requires a little more conformity and results in less freedom for the individual. It is the path to total conformity, total control. Have you noticed how their power bases are being consolidated, how power is being centralized? Have you noticed the preparations for crowd control and the weapons that they intend to use on the people they are supposed to serve? How every individual is being labeled and categorized so that each one can be identified and dealt with separately. Suddenly you have no safety in being part of a crowd, you are then an individual, standing in the light of the elite's all-seeing eye, isolated and helpless. This alone stops many people from demonstrating. People think that the elite are starting wars so that they can increase their own wealth, but like many things that they do, it is not about making a profit, it is about domination and control. The New World Order is no more than a New World tyranny. The collapse of the banking system is entirely planned, in preparation for one world bank. The destruction of sovereignty and the Constitution is well in progress, and you can't rule a world with so many religions, so those are going as well. It is not hard to see how people of different religious faiths are being stirred up against each other. When the final war comes and no saviors emerge to lead the armies into battle, the opposing religions will be left with the embarrassment of false teachings, and faith in them will collapse, and it will be an easy task for the elite to step in with their own one-world religion, the worship of the Antichrist, their leader. The spirituality that is left will gradually be labeled a mental disorder. We face a very bleak future if the elite have their way. We are knocking on Armageddon's door. How do those few privileged elite do it, and why? How do the few exercise so much control over more than 6 billion people? It's simple, they know how people work, and in doing so they know how to control their actions. People have become like toys in their hands. It's like having a remote control for everyone. Even people who are aware of what is going on are helpless, because they can't pin down how the elite are getting away with it, and why people are left powerless. There's no point in telling people what is wrong if you can't tell them how to fix it. There is no point in telling someone that their house has been robbed unless you can tell them how to secure it and prevent it from happening again. The mind is the self's house, and it is this that the elite have broken into and ransacked. It is therefore there that the problems caused by the elite must be dealt with. It is the mind that must be made secure to protect it from the psychology of the elite. You must come to understand how sentient life works, only then will you realize how life, including yours, has been controlled, only then will you destroy the magician's illusion. The root of power. The elite have a saying: set them against each other. This single practice alone is the root of the elite's power, and it is also the trap that very few have managed to escape from. If you want to set people against each other, then you must cause them to compete with each other. The elite do not compete with each other, but instead they control the competitors and take a large percentage of what is won for themselves, whether it be wealth or power. There was a time when people were self-sufficient, nature provided all that they required. They were free from the authority of others. It is something that many people crave for today. Land was not owned then, it was merely used, and any trading of things surplus to requirement, were fairly traded. Today all land is under the control of the elite. It has even become unlawful in many places to grow your own food. Fair trading has all but disappeared, and has been replaced by the pursuit of excessive profiteering, usually through the exploitation of the labor of the most vulnerable and poor. People have not realized that Jesus, Moses, Abraham, Prophet Muhammad, Confucius, and Buddha were teaching people not to compete against each other. Those who compete create enemies. There is no fairness in any competition because any winner will have had an advantage from the beginning, and the only recourse for the one who is disadvantaged is to cheat. Competition always creates winners and losers, pride and hate, yet all who compete are losers from the start. No one competes with those that they love. This is why it was said that you must love one another, even your enemies. If someone strikes your cheek, offer the other one. If you strike back, you are competing. If you compete for material things, you will become attached to them and you will have to compete to defend their possession. What does it profit a person, that they gain the whole world yet lose their soul to it? There is no love in competing, for love requires equality through sharing. It is because of competition that the world has been divided and almost completely conquered. All over the world the will of the elite is being enacted. Hear their voice, set them against each other. Set nation against nation. Set religion against religion. Set family against family. Set them all against each other until they cry out for peace, and leave them nowhere to turn to but us. Then we shall rule the world as we desire with their consent. You know that there is only one way to peace, one way to end the suffering. Stop competing against each other for the attachments that bring a living death. Choose love or walk together into hell, the mind that is enslaved, in turmoil and burning with the fire of suffering. Everything has a price. The price of competition is suffering, and as you are caught up in competing against each other, the real losers are dying of disease, starvation, war, and tyranny. This is not the world we want. The price for peace is letting go of what you do not need and giving it to those who do, the weakest, the poorest, the last, your forgotten family of the one. And the reign of the elite, and their plan for world domination, and the illusion of what you don't need, and mankind's war with itself, and it gently as a feather floating to the ground, a dove's feather, a feather of peace. Do it with love. Help each other. Love and you will be loved. Save and you will be saved. There you have it. K.I.K, knowledge is king. Get into the know. Peace.